So some of the things that I want to stress before we move on to the next section of our classes and object is that right now I've only created methods that are like getters and setters. Well, you don't need to just have those methods, and which is why I have provided these other methods right here where you can add stuff into your bag and you can get items from the bag, and you can print what is inside the bag, which is the print items method I have here, the add items method I have here, and the get item here. And this is just kind of like one of those rare cases where I have a private method, and this is because it's just like a helper method, you could say. It's not something that a user is supposed to see. So I just wanted to let you know there are different functionalities that you could put inside a bag class, but just because we're just starting at like round zero first. And so I think it's important to build the fundamentals of working with getters and setters first. So now we're actually going to be moving on to talking about creating the actual bag object. So I have been saying like instantiating an object, and that basically means creating an object. And you'll see that in the next slide there. So I'll also do a code demo for this as well. We're going to be starting with a new class file, and here I'm going to be calling it a bag impl. And the impl is just the shortened version of implementation. And inside our main method is where we're going to be creating our bag object. So here once again, instantiate an object is the same thing as saying creating an object. It's just you're going to see this terminology often when you're in the CS field. And basically, when we're creating an object, as I've mentioned before, we're actually going to be using the constructors that we have defined in our bag template or bag class. So the syntax for creating an object is when we're inside the main method. The first example is showing how we would use a default constructor. The very first thing that we need to do is declare the type of our variable. So in this case, it's going to be a bag type. So the class is kind of like when you're creating a new class, you're actually creating a new data type. You could think of it like that. So first we have to declare it to be a bag. Then we're going to say what the variable is. In this case, I'm going to call it a brown bag because when we're using the default constructor, we had to find the default color is going to be a brown bag. And something that I want to show you is that anytime you're creating a new object, you always have to use this keyword new when you're initializing an object. And then here is just calling the bag constructor, the default constructor, with just the parentheses with no arguments. And the same thing happens with the second constructor that we overloaded. Here in this example, once again, we declare a bag data type, and then the global or the variable name, not a global, the variable name is red bag. So this is the declaration right here. And the right hand side, when we're initializing, we are using the keyword new, and we are using the second constructor where we're taking in the color, the number of items, and the brand name. And so let's actually illustrate that right here. So here I have an empty class file, but I have already saved this as a bagimpl.java file. So once again, we're just importing this. And it's going to be called a bagimpl. And then we need to have a main method where we can execute this. So first, we need to declare it to be a bag. And it's going to be a brown bag. And so here we have the keyword new, and then we say bag with no arguments because we want the default constructor, and we have defined that the default values are going to be brown. Number of items it can hold is 10, so it's a pretty big bag, and it's going to be a Louis Vuitton. And we'll actually print out what those values are later. And then we can create a red bag as well. We use the keyword new, and in this case we are going to be taking an argument. So this is going to be a red bag. It can hold 2 items, so maybe it's like a clutch, and it's going to be a Chanel. And I'll show you how to call methods from an object, which are these methods that we want to call on. So now the general syntax for method calls is that we have the object's variable name, for example, red bag or brown bag. We have the dot, we have to say the method name, and then we have the parentheses. And if there's arguments involved, then we would pass in arguments. And here are some examples that we have right here. So we have the code. Here we have the red bag, and if I want to print out what the red bag's color is, then I would just say the variable name, which is red bag, dot, the name of the method getColor, and the parentheses, and we're not passing in any arguments. So let's look at an example for that. So here, let's actually print one out for the brown bag, and let's print one out for the red bag. So I'm going to say the brown bag's color is going to be brown bag, which is the variable name, dot the method name, which is getColor, parentheses with no arguments because we don't take any arguments for that. And then let's do one for red bag's color. Here, actually, let's do it this way. So it's easier to read it. And then we're going to say the variable name, which is red bag, dot getColor. And let's print what that does. So first, let me just compile both of them. Awesome. I'm going to clear this away because it's got ugly right now. And because the main method lives inside the bag_impl class, I will be running the bag_impl class file. Perfect. So it says, oh, I misspelled brown, but brown bag's color is brown and red bag's color is red. Perfect. Because we say the color in the default is brown, and then here we pass in red. In this case, this is the placeholder right here. We are assigning that red to this variable color. Now let's see what happens when we use setters. So let's say I actually want to change the brand name of my brown bag. So what we would have to do is, like, I'm going to change it to Prada, for example. So we say I keep saying global. It's just a variable named brown bag, dot, and then we say the method name. And the method name for is changing this brand name is set brand name right here. So here's set brand name. And we need to take in an argument. So we are taking in Prada. So this Prada is the placeholder right here, and Prada is going to be initializing this brand name. So let's actually print that one out. This doesn't return anything. So what we have to do is we actually have to call on the getter method, which is get brand name right here. This is the one that we have to call on. So here, oops, we're going to say brown bag dot get brand name. Okay, now let's do this. Whoops, I actually did it wrong. I did not put the bag here. Let's compile this. Perfect. So brown bag's color brown, which is what we had here. And then I printed out the brown bag's brand name. It's no longer Louis Vuitton, it's Prada. Let's actually do a before and after. So here, so I'm going to print it before I set the brand name to be Prada. So let's do that. Brand, let's say it's going to be brown bag dot get brand name. So we are expecting this one to print Louis Vuitton, and then when we reassign it to be Prada, then it should be printing Prada. So let's recompile this and see what happens. And then run it. Perfect. So brown bag's brand before we change it to Prada is Louis Vuitton, and after we use this set method, we get Prada as our print statement. So that's what we had expected, and that's how you would use methods inside your object. So now I wanted to just go over more in detail what the heck is this dot notation doing. So how I would consider this is that the right hand side is always the part that we want. So we want this getColor method. But we can't just say getColor because Java will be confused. Like, where are you getting this getColor from? So we always have to define the address where we're getting the getColor from. So what we're saying here is that, okay, I want to get this getColor method. And this dot is saying, getColor is from this red bag object. That's how we know that the color in this case is going to be red. So the left-hand side is saying the address. Where is this method coming from? So getColor is a method from the red bag object. And we can actually also see this with our print statement. So on the right-hand side, we want the print line method. However, where are we getting this print line from? Well, we're getting this print line method from this variable called out. And out is a data type of print stream. I don't really know what print stream is, but I could kind of deduce that print stream, print line, basically similar. So print line is a method that is coming from the out variable. But then now it's like, where is out coming from? That's a pretty generic name. Well, out is a variable that lives inside the system class. So system is a Java class that's already been pre-written by the Java developers who actually wrote this programming language. So print line is a method from out, and out is a variable that is from the class system. You don't really have to understand everything. What I want you to know is that the more left we go, the more addressy we get, and the more right we go, the more of the stuff that we want or that we're getting essentially. So in this case, we're getting the print line method because we want that. And then now in our next video, we'll go over the difference between static and non-static variables and methods and how they work.